So, we have been talking about symbolism, and this particular story has some symbolism in it. I would like you to think about reoccurring images and what they might mean if they have a greater meaning than just what they appear on the surface. That's what a symbol is. So, I'm going to read the story and I want you to be thinking about it. All right, here we go. A Serious Joke by Graciela Marquez. It had become routine in the Garcia family and among the in-laws to pool money and buy a stack of lottery tickets each Saturday. The responsibility for the purchase of the tickets fell to a different household each week. This week it was Javier Garcia's turn. The fortunate circumstance was that everyone was gathered together at Javier's home to celebrate his daughter Veronica's first Holy Communion, so it would be easy to collect the money. But in the bustle of activities surrounding Veronica's special day, Javier had no opportunity to run to the convenience store to buy the tickets. After celebratory cake and coffee in the late afternoon, the relatives and Javier's wife Donna urged Javier to get to the store to buy the tickets. The winning numbers would be announced on television at 6 o'clock, so he was approaching the deadline and he wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to purchase what might become the winning ticket. The family had won a modest prize before. By the time it was divided, less the cost of the tickets, each family walked away with $150. The meager winnings allowed each family to pay a few bills, but did nothing to help them feel more secure or to entertain dreams of better homes in better neighborhoods. Nevertheless, Donna's mother, Yolanda, recalled a family who lived down the street from her and how they had won $28 million. At first, they bought a new car and remodeled their home, but eventually they bought a larger home in a swank suburb and traveled on exotic vacations. Yolanda thought, why not me? So it became a position of faith that she would inevitably win a jackpot, making it critically important that the families purchase tickets each week. Although Yolanda knew nothing about the probability of winning, she judged intuitively that the purchase of multiple tickets would increase her chances of winning. She would be happy to share with everyone as long as there was a big jackpot to share. When the lottery drawing was but 15 minutes away, the families were practically pushing Javier out the door. He seemed to be stalling, as if to tease everyone. Wait a minute, he said. I have to get my car keys. Yolanda sat in front of the television and directed Donna to tune in to the local station that broadcast the lottery drawing. Javier pulled his brother-in-law Peter aside and told him to write down the winning numbers when they were announced and to call Javier on his cell phone. What for? Asked Peter. The deadline will be over. You can't fool anyone. Trust me, Javier said. Just call. Would you get out of here? Called Yolanda, almost infuriated that Javier was still in the house. I'm going, replied Javier. The store is just a minute away on Loomis. I'll be right back. The drawing was still 10 minutes away, but Yolanda was shooing away anyone who blocked her view of the television screen. At one point from her seated position, she swung her purse at three grandchildren who wandered into the living room and positioned themselves between Yolanda and the drawing. Her frustration with the children increased when half the contents of her purse showered onto the carpet. She quickly grabbed for the items: loose change, a lipstick, 3 ballpoint pens, a package of tissue, her blood pressure medication, and a brochure for a river cruise line. At the convenience store, Javier waited behind 2 other customers but had plenty of time to purchase 30 tickets. Some with specific numbers deemed lucky because Yolanda or Donna associated them with birthdays and anniversaries, but most were random picks. Then he waited for Peter's call as he thumbed through a newspaper from a wire stand next to the counter. At the house, Yolanda focused on the drawing. As the numbers were announced, she jotted them down on the back of the cruise line brochure that she had retrieved from the floor. Peter stood behind her and jotted down the numbers on the palm of his hand. What are you doing? Asked Donna. Mom is already writing down the numbers. I just want to be sure, said Peter. And when the television announcer reviewed the numbers, Yolanda looked at what she had written, reading silently, her lips moving as if in prayer. Peter slipped through the now crowded living room and went to his car. There he called Javier and read aloud the numbers he had written on his hand. What do you think you're going to do? The ticket will have a timestamp, and it won't be any good for this week. Donna and her mom won't know that when I slip this ticket in with the rest. They're going to think they're millionaires. Bad idea, man, responded Peter. Donna's going to kill you, Javier laughed. When Javier got home, he nonchalantly walked over to Yolanda and placed the stack of lottery tickets on the table next to her chair. Without looking up at Javier, she said, "It's about time. Did you have to go halfway across town for these?" Javier sought out Peter so they could watch together the train of emotions that had set off toward a cliff. Javier found the wait exhilarating. Peter found it nerve-wracking. Yolanda slowly and methodically checked each ticket. Since there were now 31 tickets, the process would take a while. At the 7th ticket, Yolanda called out, "One number matches, 2, 3, 4, 4. That's it, only 4. This would earn the investors $180. That at least covered the cost of the tickets and left a little extra for each family. But Yolanda wanted more. She plodded on through the stack of tickets. The children played on the living room floor. Family members stood around chatting. The television blared. Javier and Peter watched, as if tracking the spark of a fuse toward a powder keg that would explode in a joyous fury. Almost disheartened, but with the resolution of a dreamer, Yolanda selected the next ticket to check. The numbers looked familiar. She called out, 1 match, 2 matches, 3. Her voice became louder and more shrill. 4 matches, she shouted. Donna came over to verify. 5 matches, Peter whispered. Uh-oh. Javier smiled, but felt that the room had become suddenly warm. 6 matches! Oh, my heavens! 6 matches, she called. Yolanda grabbed her daughter's 2 hands, and they both jumped up and down in a celebration dance, calling out, "We're rich! We're rich! We're rich!" Peter faced Javier. "You're a dead man," he said. "You too. You gave me the numbers," Javier replied. "We're both dead." Everyone but Javier and Peter joined in the celebration. It appeared for the moment that they were all millionaires many times over. Some family members looked stunned, not sure how a pile of money would change their lives, but the dreams that the money could buy swirled around the room. Cars, homes, jewelry, clothes, vacations, debt relief, and a trip down a European river. Javier tried to turn to leave the room, but Peter caught him by the arm. "When are you going to tell them?" "I guess now," Javier allowed, like a handcuffed prisoner admitting his guilt before an impatient judge. "Wait a minute," he called out. "Look at the date on the ticket. I bought a ticket for next week." Donna stared sharply at Javier, having been a victim of his practical jokes on many occasions. "Javier, you didn't." "What?" asked Yolanda. "I don't understand. What are you saying?" Donna explained gently. "Mom, he knew the winning numbers, but bought the numbers for the next drawing. He knew we would confuse the two." Still incredulous, Yolanda looked again at the number she had written on her brochure and then at the date on the ticket. She began to hyperventilate and looked around to see the faces of the adults around her in the confirmation that she had been duped. Donna began to cry and reached out to her mother, who pushed her away. Her breath became more regular. She could not look at Javier. Her thoughts were not clear, but she was certain she would not speak to him for a long time. Yolanda slumped into the chair where she had witnessed the lottery drawing. She deliberately placed the ticket on the pile with the other tickets. The River Cruise brochure dropped from her hand to the floor. Okay, that's the story.